Okay, welcome everybody. Thank you for being here this morning. I hope you're enjoying having a seat. This room is definitely supposed to be about rest. I'm Erica Chitty. I'm the SVP of Brand and Editorial Content for Unbothered. And welcome to our talking circle. Come in, have a seat, make yourself comfortable. Um, just a tiny little bit about me before we go into where we're moving this morning and what we're going to be taking in. I joined the company in February. If you don't know Unbothered has been a place where Black women could be seen, heard, celebrated, really speaking to millennials, Gen Z women, and people. And this year, we're starting to take Unbothered on a new journey towards well-being and culture because we have to take care of ourselves and we have to take care of each other. And I like to say I've spent most of my life helping women tell the stories of their bodies as a full spectrum doula for 15 years, author, health educator, and I really feel that education is a health intervention. And so these conversations that we have here can really change lives, save lives. So, with that in mind, a couple things, housekeeping things about the space that we're in. So, in the talking circle, there are no leaders, there's no speakers. There's a keeper, that will be me for today or for this time, and I will help keep the space and keep us together and keep the conversation flowing. And then we have anchors, which are these two beautiful women here that are going to anchor the conversation with their wisdom and with their experience. And please know that the third part of this conversation is all of you. So keeper, anchors, circle. So feel free as we move forward in the conversation. If you have something you want to share, put your hand up. We'll bring you a mic. Yesterday was beautiful. All the conversations that we had. There's just such community and such wisdom coming through this portal, this space. So excited to dive back into that again today. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to open up the circle and we're going to do some clearing, clear some energy. It's very simple. All I'm going to ask for everyone to do is just rub their hands together. Rub them together as fast as you can. If you feel like it, close your eyes. Just feel the heat moving between your hands. And I'm going to count to 3. And when we get to 3, we're all going to clap just one time. Okay? 1, 2, 3. Beautiful. I'm going to hand it over to our anchors to introduce themselves and take us into our conversation today, which for those that might not know, it's about your heart being in your hands. And this is a well-being talking circle with Jennifer Johnson and Tara Robertson. Am I saying Tara correct or Tara?
Hi, everyone. My name is Tara. I am the co-founder and CEO of Black Heart Association. I'm also a 3-time heart attack survivor, and I set my own intentions standing on the solid rock, which is God in my life. So I just so happy to be here, to have my mom here. Hey, Mom. My sister. Hey. So also, I'm just a little girl from the south side of Fort Worth, Texas, who God chose to lead this journey to help save the lives of our community.
Hello, everyone, and Tara, such an honor to be sitting with you and doing this. And hi, Mom and sister, and I have my mom here too. Welcome everyone to the Healing Circle. My name is Jennifer Jakai Johnson, and I am a broken heart syndrome and leaky heart valve survivor. So we'll talk more about this as we get into it. And I'm here from Wellness.
Thank you. So, one of the things that we talked a little bit about yesterday was how common heart attacks are in our community. Tara, would you mind just start off by telling us what the stats are? Because I feel like that's always fresh information for folks because we just don't know and don't think about it.
Sure. Heart disease is the #1 killer of Black women. And when you think of heart disease, I don't want you to think of just the heart attack itself. I want you to think about what leads up to those things, whether it's hypertension, you now have heart disease, diabetes, heart disease, kidney, heart disease issues. Everything flows through the heart. Nothing misses it. So if you think about it in that capacity, that's why we're the highest, right? Because our stress is high and all the other things. And so then you also think about every 36 seconds, someone dies from a heart attack, and that's most likely a Black woman. Then you think about over the course of the year, about 800,000 people have a heart attack. About 600,000 of them, that's their first time ever having a heart attack, and over half of them don't survive. So those are some of the stats and some of the reasons why we have to be in tune with our bodies and our heart health.
And I think, what does it really look like to be in tune? I mean, I have probably more insight than most given my background, but a lot of the things that came up in the conversation yesterday were just these signs that you were experiencing. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Some of the signs I experienced during my heart attack, well, some of the signs that I ignored first was fatigue. When we think about fatigue, we think about, oh, I'm just tired. You might hear yourself saying, I'm tired. But how often are you tired, and how exhausted are you? And so when I think about fatigue, I think about it at an extreme sense. If you're having a nap 2 or 3 times a day, then you might need to go get that checked out with your doctor. So I ignored that one for the longest time. And then what really stood out was my left arm going numb and my neck bothering me. Felt like I had a crook in my neck or I slept bad. Those were 2 signs that kept happening off and on, and they got my attention, but not enough to drive me to care. So by the time I go to care in January, that was in November that I really noticed those signs. By the time I go to the doctor in January, I'm going over my signs. Left arm numbness, neck, feet dark, and she chalked it up to stress. She never made a connection between my heart health and possibly having a heart attack in a few more months.
Anything you want to add to that?
I would say from the broken heart syndrome side, broken heart syndrome is really real, and I'll just kind of tell a little bit about my story. In 2019, I experienced the unexpected passing of my 15-year-old son, Christian, and he passed traumatically. And I learned 6 months after he passed that I had broken heart syndrome. It was a real diagnosis. It could be fatal. I learned that I had leaky heart valve. And I remember saying, like, wow, my heart is really leaking for my son when they said leaky heart valve. And it was just all of these things. But for the broken heart syndrome, I remember feeling like my heart was hurting. I would say, my heart is hurting. My heart is hurting. It would have this pain. It was consistent. And so when I went to the cardiologist, he ran some tests and he came back to me. He said, have you ever heard of broken heart syndrome? And I said, yes. Normally when you hear about it, people think, we don't think it's real. He died from broken heart syndrome. She died from broken heart syndrome. But no, he said it's a real thing. What happens, your left ventricle, it shapes itself into an octopus. And so you have to take it seriously. And so sometimes they may medicate you. They might be high blood pressure medicine that they're giving you. But they can't necessarily get to the root of why your heart is broken. So that's when I had to also focus on therapy and other things to help mend that broken heart, because it was all from my son. So yeah. And it's more common than people think. Normally cardiologists are looking at widows for broken heart syndrome, but you can have broken heart syndrome at any age, really, if you have something that is emotionally and traumatically stressful and weighing on you. It really does not matter. So you have to check in with the cardiologist and ask them, can you do an EKG? Can we do an ultrasound? We just want to make sure, what's happening with my heart.
I'm so sorry for the loss of your son. Sending you
Thank you.
a lot of love around that. Something that came up yesterday, too, that I thought was interesting. You brought it up, actually, about the fact that to get the care that you need to be telling providers to document things in your chart, and this idea of being able to get the right kind of care, So curious if both of you maybe could talk a little bit more about yes, you need to see a cardiologist, but that's a referral. You can't just walk into a cardiologist. You can if you pay out of pocket, but very few people are doing that. How do you get a referral to a cardiologist?
I would say, for me, I went through my PCP. I have a PPO, so I was able to naturally go, but I'm really big on research. So I'll look at a cardiologist's reviews. I'm looking at, just are they good? If they're non-black or brown, I'm kind of curious how they're going to treat me when I get there. I do want to know. I just kind of lucked up on finding, to be honest, a really good cardiologist who cared to even look at broken heart syndrome. because normally no one, cardiologists aren't, they're not looking for that. They're not putting grief and trauma together and saying, let's look at broken heart syndrome. So that part for me was like a blessing. Like, wow, you looked further than what someone else normally would. But, but yeah, researching the reviews and just kind of going in there with questions, prayer, and just hoping you do have the right one, and with those things. So yeah.
I think what we need to know as a community is, one, we're not getting referred, that it is a disparity in that area, that we're not getting referred to specialists, which is part of the reason that the rate is so high. So I think about my brother-in-law. He passed away from a hypertensive heart attack at the age of 38 in front of my niece and nephew. They were high school students, so if you can imagine what they've been through. When the mother and my sister, his wife, went to go speak to the doctor and ask what happened, why wasn't he ever referred to a cardiologist, he said because he never complained of pain. We know a lot of times high blood pressure is not painful. So you have to be mindful of what you're facing when you go into care. A lot of us, we ask that question on our intake form. If you have high blood pressure, have you ever been referred to a cardiologist? The answer is most likely no. If you have diabetes, have you ever been referred to a cardiologist? The answer is most likely no. So if you're sitting in this room and you have any of those things, whether it's kidney, stress, grief, you need to see a cardiologist. It's people in this room that's probably been diagnosed with hypertension and have never, 20 years plus, been referred to a heart specialist. So when you go into your primary care, the question is, why not? Why haven't you cared for me enough to let somebody check on my heart health, my kidney health, or whatever it is that I need that specializes in this field? My brother-in-law was on 3 different types of high blood pressure medicine. At what point does a primary care figure out that he's not the specialist in this field? So you have to go in knowing what you're facing, and it's okay to change doctors. It's okay to say, yeah, you're not meeting the mark. This is not 5-star service. So there is a disparity in that part of the system that we definitely have to face head on by demanding that if I have hypertension for over a year, let me go see a specialist. Okay.
Are there any questions in the room or people want to share? Let's get you a mic. Hold on, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
Come here.
You gotta bring it back.
Yeah, for questions.
It's very interesting what you were saying. So if you are referred to a heart specialist, what type of tests should you have them require that they take? That's my question.
So most cardiologists, what they do when you first go visit is have a conversation with you about what might be going on. Then the next appointment will most likely provide, if needed, an echocardiogram, a stress test, and they might ask some other information. Like for me, it's where is my cholesterol, where is my blood pressure, the normal things. But usually it comes with a stress test and an echocardiogram. That's for starters. And then if it's something they see on there, like I got a call in the middle of the night from my cardiologist because I had some pain, I had to go back and do a nuclear stress test, which they shoot the dye, so it progresses based on where you're at.
Hi, yes. So when you said you had the broken heart syndrome and the doctor did testing, what did the doctor see on your tests that determined it was broken heart?
Yes, it's the left ventricle. It's shaped differently. It's shaped like a octopus. Looks a little bit different when it's going through stress. So from my understanding, that is what they see on the ultrasound. Is the shape is different. I want to kind of pick up too on what she said in regards to even when you're searching for a cardiologist and getting referred to them. Don't be afraid to advocate for yourself. If you feel like no, something is still here, there's more to this. Don't be afraid to ask for a second opinion because this is your body and you know your body. And don't let the signs go unnoticed because they do build up. So, unhealed trauma is the hidden cause of most preventable illnesses. I don't think that people know that the heart is the very first to feel anything that we go through traumatic. So it travels to the heart first, the heart processes the trauma, then it signals to the brain to process the trauma. The brain processes the trauma, signals for the body to process the trauma. So you have this whole holistic 360 going on with trauma being processed. And traditionally, we'll say, well, I need a therapist for my trauma. But we don't say who's going to make sure the heart is okay from what I just been through. Who's going to make sure the physicals from insomnia to indigestion, irritable bowel syndrome, all the ways it'll show up. Who's going to take care of that? So whenever you've gone through something traumatic, just understand that the heart had to digest that and take that in first. Okay.
To add to her question, what she just said too, the way it can show up in your labs is you look at your cholesterol score and your triglycerides speaks to the hardening or the stiffening of your arteries. So if that number is elevated, that's also a way to kind of check if something's going on. And it's usually unforgiveness, grief, trauma. And as we were talking, death happens in so many ways, not always physical, divorce.
It could be incarceration because that one is they're gone physically. You're not going to be able to see them. So that's a grief. I think grief is so unique because we think it may be just a physical loss, but it could be something that never happened that we wanted to have happen. Even unexpected loss. There's so many ways it shows up, but honor what you feel, and if it feels heavy, there's grief there, and speak to that grief. Don't ignore it. Don't push it down, because all you're doing is creating inflammation in the body. So where there is trauma then creates stress. Where stress is, it creates inflammation. When your body has inflammation, then you have chronic conditions. So remember that trauma is just sitting there and stirring up and exacerbating what already exists and possibly creating something new as well in the body.
Hi. My question is this. I've suffered with tachycardia mostly all my life since I was a kid until now. Do you guys know much about tachycardia and how it affects the heart? Because I have a really high heartbeat.
So that might be a question for Crystal since she's the nurse in the room, the ICU nurse. But we do know that heart rate that you're talking about can cause, I don't know what your symptoms are. I don't know if you pass out when it gets too hot. I don't know what you go through. But if you're under good care and if you feel like you're not getting the answers to make you feel comfortable with the diagnosis, then, like she said, a second opinion might be best.
Okay, my wife's, she'll wake up, she'll be asleep at night, and she'll wake up really panicking and almost get up running, and I have to hold her down and say, I'm okay, you're okay, I'm here. So is that part of her trauma with the panic, because she has panic attacks?
So when we look at PTSD at our clinic, that is one of them. The panic attacks, the hypervigilance, all of that. I would definitely get checked. There is a trauma checklist that you can utilize. You can even go online and look at it, and it will list 40 different symptoms that show you PTSD. And just look at it, and it lets you see if there's any kind of trauma going on. But those which you're naming, elevated heart rate, all of those things are a part of PTSD. And just know that it's okay. Because I know sometimes when we hear PTSD, we're like, no, I don't want to say I have PTSD. Yeah. But if it is there, we got to speak to that, and we have to nurture that, and we got to tap in, tune in, and take care of that.
Okay, so we're going to answer the question about the impact of a high heart rate on the heart. So the heart is a muscle, right? And normally when you work a regular muscle, it improves efficiency, correct? The heart doesn't do that. It gets larger, but efficiency is less. So you're less likely to pump more efficiently. You can't push blood through your body efficiently, and so you go through what we call congestive heart failure or enlargement of the heart. That's fatal. So normally what doctors prescribe is a beta blocker,
which keeps your heart at a low, moderate rate so that the body can function more efficiently. That means if you're prescribed a beta blocker, you need to be taking your beta blocker, correct? And then if you have instances where your heart rate actually goes up higher than your beta blocker, your doctor may need to actually increase your prescription. Okay, so if you have instances, like if you have, all of us have like these smart watches, right? And so they're able to kind of look at our heart rate. If you see your heart rate and you're sitting down go up to 140, that's a problem. You need to go to your cardiologist. And to your point, this is not something your primary care can do. You need to say, hey, I need a referral to my a cardiologist. Do you have a recommendation? Don't leave it as an option. Make it something that you require them to do.
Hi. I had a question about age, because you mentioned some things that I have experienced, and my eyes got like, what? So, like, how old were you when you started experiencing, like, the numb arm or limbs? And I think you said, like, your neck, thought I had a crick in your neck, some things like that. And just, like, another question, like, how old were you? And then, but how old, like, what age, like, the lowest age we should be kind of looking at those things? Because I know, like, sometimes we think, well, I'm too young to experience those things. And maybe I should have been looking years ago.
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know why the song, age ain't nothing but a number. Okay, never mind. I was 39 when I started having my symptoms. I was 40 when I had the heart attack. I know that there are people in their 20s. We have screened people down to 14 that have had heart issues, that needed open heart and all these things that had no clue. So remember, our kids are traumatized as well. They go through things, they're stressed. So heart disease age has nothing to do. It can happen to any one of us at any time. Especially post-COVID, we're looking at at our 20s and it happening more frequently. And so, yeah, it can happen as early as your 20s or earlier.
And I kind of want to.
It's not uncommon for folks to be on high blood pressure medication for years. So I'm concerned about how frequently would you recommend the patient suggest to their doctor that they see a cardiologist? Is that based on symptoms, or should that be something that they regularly do?
Is it there?
That's another great question. In my opinion, if you're hypertensive or anything like that, you should go to a cardiologist or a nephrologist at least once a year to check in. That is my opinion. I just feel like as women, our hormones shift so much that anything can happen. And so every year we need to be checking in if we have these diagnoses.
And I would say maybe, and I would say even sooner, because I'm gonna give you another stat. So 8 out of 10 leading causes of death, including lung, kidney, and heart disease, stroke, are all associated with trauma. So again, if you've been through anything traumatic,
You got a question?
and you have diabetes and the kidney issues, like she alluded to earlier, there might be something going on with the heart as well, because the heart also plays an association as it relates to those diseases. So maybe even going more than once. If you find out you have anything going on with your kidney, go to the cardiologist too and just say, hey, I have kidney issues going on. Just want to see how the heart's doing, because I know there's association there. So yeah.
No, Don.
So the question that I have for you, ma'am, is after your first heart attack, does the heart get weaker, and that what made you susceptible to getting a second and a third? Like, how did you get to 3 after the initial?
I can laugh about it now because we were all crying in and in shock. But that's a great question. I keep saying that's a great question because all the questions are really great. The first heart attack, I was sent home by a young black doctor who told me I was too young to be having a heart attack and too thin. And so the next day I had another one in my classroom. I went to a different ER, and ran into a white female cardiovascular doctor who, because my symptoms never showed up on the EKG or through my blood work, immediately that they felt like there was no reason for me to be there, although I had the textbook symptoms of a heart attack. So after begging for an overnight stay, they kept me, did a heart enzyme test, and it came back slightly elevated, which alerts them that something's going on with my heart. But they do that test in a series of 3. The next 2 times, it was normal. So at 11, I was sent home. I was going back, having a massive heart attack at 4. And the only difference then was that the symptoms showed up, but my heart was weaker each time and more damage was done. So I ended up having 99% blockage in my left artery known as the widowmaker.
Hello. Okay. I have a same along the same lines, but a little further in. So I'm asking and thinking about my mom. She's currently in ICU, dealing with her heart, and I'm trying to figure out what medications are best for women of color. Because she's on the blood pressures, she's on the thinners, she's on name it that they give for the heart, but she still keeps going in every couple of months. So what do we do now? Because the medicines aren't working. So when is it no longer the medicines aren't effective and the cardiologist just keeps giving the same medicines? What do we do now?
First of all, hold your pain. I really do. And I know what God will do for one, he'll do for another. So I'm definitely in prayer for your mom.
Let me get her tissue.
A lot of times it's asking and demanding for a different staff, a different doctor. We just have to do that. I know it's time consuming to do that, but we have to.
Can I have?
We have to ask. If you feel like you're not getting the answers you need, you have to ask for different doctors. And that's where it comes down to really understanding what you deserve in these spaces. We deserve excellent care, and we will accept nothing else because mom needs to come home well, right? And so my daughter, when she was in labor, the whole team, her first experience was horrible. I dismissed the whole team in the hospital. I need a team that looks like her and that cares about her because she's going out the way she came in and her baby's also leaving with her. So you just have to be that bold and don't accept nothing less. If you feel like you're not getting the answer, say, I need another doctor in here. I need a second and third and fourth opinion. And you can do that within the hospital system.
I am praying for you and with you. Yes, holding space for you. I want to share this too. Even in the midst of everything you're going through, also don't forget to check your heart, okay? Be open to looking at integrative medicine. So that's INTEGRATIVE, integrative medicine. Integrative medicine doctors, they look at everything as a whole. Everything is connected. They're looking at this is going on with the heart, what's going on with the kidney. This is going on. They're looking at everything, and so there are integrative cardiologists. Be open to that because they merge Western and Eastern medicine. These cardiologists are looking at everything and lifestyle. Yes, they merge all of those. So integrative cardiologists. Another, depending on what state you're in, consult with a naturopathic doctor. You know, bring as much medicine from both sides, Eastern and Western, and naturopathic in there to help you because they'll be thinking about things that our conventional doctors won't be thinking about, or connecting some things that they're not connecting, or they might be looking at what about her vitamins versus the blood pressure medicine. Now we looked at other things, you know, they're not. When they look at panels, they extend their panels into everything that they're looking at on the blood test side. So even look into that. Integrative medicine, integrative cardiologists, naturopathic doctors.
And one doctor that we don't use is our dietitians. They're covered under our insurance, so use them. If you're struggling with, you know, because you're here in our community, we don't want to be on medicine. We don't want to be on medicine, and that's fine. I get it. But also checking in with a dietitian to help you with your food journey. so that you can, because that's a big part of it, y'all. This food is taking us out here so fast, it's ridiculous. So making sure that we're healthy on that side as well, use that person. And then they do have cardiac fit is in the room. She works with patients on how to get better. So it's a lot of ways that we can help. Let's talk after.
All right, so we have time for one more question. Did you get to answer?
Hello. I think I'm supposed to be in this conversation at this moment. Thanks for everything that you've shared about the cardiologist, about going to the doctor, about advocating for yourself. What if you I have high blood pressure, and I'm also a nurse. How do you deal with it on the day-to-day? Like, you've gone to the doctor, you eat the right foods, but you have constant little things in your day-to-day life, plus trauma, plus family stuff. How do you, as a 3-time heart attack survivor, how do you, as a person that has dealt with or is dealing with broken heart syndrome, how do you keep going? How do you make it work?
Thank you. So broken heart syndrome, it doesn't last. You do the beta blocker, sometimes, the high blood pressure medicine, and doing the work. Doing the work. I'll say this, therapy is so there are what I call general therapists, and then there are specialized therapists who really get into trauma and grief. And they're trained deeply into trauma and grief. Finding the right therapist in that, for me, that was very helpful in helping me to process, which I'll be real, I'm always still kind of processing his passing, because it is going to be like a lifelong grief to an extent, because I'm still, I don't want to cry, but
You can cry. It's okay. It's okay.
I'm still taking it. I'm still taking in the surrealness that he will never be here again. So it will always be there, the grief. But having a good cardiologist, having a good PCP that listens, having a good trauma therapist, and doing the work all helped me so that I wouldn't have continued heart issues, because that could have been a slippery slope effect from broken heart syndrome to leaky heart valve. It could have been way more things that can happen. So again, if you're getting it early, if you're doing the inner work, then that can help you. So yeah, you have to do that work. It can come back again, depending on if you go through something else more traumatic and emotionally stressful. It could come back again. So again, take care of the heart, listen to it, and honor that. Honor it.
Woo. I would say a lot of us are doing what we're good at instead of trusting God to put us in positions where we're great. And so that is a big reason why a lot of us are stressed out. We're not walking in our assignment here on earth. I was a counselor, and I just knew I was going to be the best school counselor ever. I had it all mapped out. But God said, I need you to leave school counseling and go do what I called you to do. And so for a lot of us, that obedience will bring our health in alignment. And so I think for you, I just see something bigger for you. And I know nursing is big and it's great and it's wonderful, but maybe God is calling you to do something else, and so you won't have such a heavy lift in you're managing it. You're trying to be the sustainer, where God is saying, I need you to steward something for me. And so that's what he's called you to do. And you're just refusing to walk in that lane. I don't know what that is for you, but I hope that you accept it soon.
Thank you. That's beautiful. It's a beautiful way to close the circle. Thank you, everyone, for being here, for sharing, and for holding this space. And what we're going to do, just to close and kind of seal the energy that's in this space right now before we move on to the next thing, is just as we open the circle, we'll close it the same way. So just rub your hands together and just take a deep breath. As you do that, really just feel your feet on the ground, feel your bottom in the seat. And we're just going to go really fast. I'll count to 3 and we'll clap. 1, 2, 3. Thank y'all. You can come to her. You can come over here to them.
Drop the t-shirt. 'Cause baby, it's 100 degrees. Lay down to breathe. Hold the waves, the minutes. Drop the t-shirt. Lying here together, see the stars align. Can't we just ease off the pressure? Forget about this back and
Check
forth.
1, 2. Check,
Stop
check,
this
check,
overthinking.
check, check, check.
I don't
check,
know for sure,
check,
but I hope
check,
I've got what you're
eh.
missing. Baby, it's 100 degrees.